All right, some more rumors for y'all, man. So they keep coming in about Spence, and people wondering if Spence gonna come back and whatever the situation gonna be. And I'm gonna talk about why it's Wilder's fault that the Joshua fight didn't happen. So I told y'all in the last rumor about Spence that Al never wanted to make the Crawford fight. I think everybody felt like that was pretty apparent that that's kind of what time Al was on. Excuse me as I fix this goddamn microphone. We all apparent that's the type of time Al was on, and but apparently now kind of some more information getting them through there. The plan was for, and it's funny how God worked. The plan was for Errol Spence to fight Pacquiao, and that was going to be his last welterweight fight. Then he was going to fight Thurman at 54, and then he was going to fight Canelo twice at 164. Remember him telling Crawford, hey, look, I ain't make this fight because of you. I feel like, he said I made it for the fans. I feel like he made it because he still lived in his community, and he would have to live with that duck sauce. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't want to live with that, and that's why, when he goes to fights, people still flock him because he's a real warrior. Say what you want to say. I think he allowed Al to manipulate his mind, and he's a warrior. And I'm explaining all this, why this is important, right? And, I'm going to get to the Wilder stuff and some extra stuff. I think the whole breaking point for him was that, and also he didn't want to fight Keith Thurman, So he didn't want to fight Keith, but, the Pacquiao fight, it fell through. Now, one of the reasons why they didn't want to make the Errol Spence fight, the Crawford fight too, is remember Jamel Charlo said, I got $10 million when I became undisputed. Apparently, allegedly in those PBC clauses, we spoke on this before, there's an undisputed clause where Al Haymon has to pay them more. The rumor is it's an extra 10 million, right? So that's another reason why Al wasn't trying to make Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, is that he would have to pay him that bonus clause, whatever it was. Some people say it's 10 million. And remember in the last video, allegedly, he ain't got all this money. I believe he's only allegedly got 10 of the 30 million that he's owed. And right now, Al is nowhere to be found, allegedly, right? So with that being said, the Pacquiao fight fell through. It didn't happen. He lost to Ordenis Ugas, which, see how God work, or let's just say the boxing gods work in this situation. They was about to get out that division, and y'all was going to justify it. A lot of y'all Errol Spence and Bud Crawford haters was going to justify him doing some hoe-ass shit. And that's why that happened. That's legit why that happened, So therefore, long story short, I think he fought Ugas, came back, and did his thing, and fought Bud. Now, allegedly, all this is allegedly, he went behind Al back and made the Crawford fight. So he went behind Massa Al back and made that fight. And that's, really it was Terrence Crawford reaching out to him, and according to Bomac, showing him the ropes. Showing him the ropes and all this, that, and the third. So long story short, he went behind Al back, made the fight against Al Will. Now you might want to be, and ask yourself, why is this so important? Why was Errol Spence so important? That was the next guy they was going to be able to finesse the bag out of, allegedly, right? All this allegedly. Floyd wouldn't come back. If Floyd came back, they probably would have that Paramount deal. But for the most part, and I've said this before, it's allegedly told that Floyd don't want to come back and fight with Al because Al don't pay him. And remember, he did that interview leading up after the Logan Paul fight. Logan Paul was, I ain't get my money, and Floyd was like, well, I'm still cashing checks from 10 years ago. I'm paraphrasing. So Al, basically, when Floyd do real fights, Al take a large percentage of his money, and I guess he reinvested, whatever you want to call it, allegedly, and he paid out in small increments. And he make interest on their money, right? And pay it out straight. So that's why Floyd won't really come back and do a real fight, because then, therefore, Al gets a check, allegedly, and then Al hold his money from him. Now, a lot of people believe that, you know, he didn't get any investment into PBC because, you know, he got into another tax issue after the first one, and it said that he gave up ownership of the fighters in PBC for Al Haymon to bail him out of that tax issue. Now, I get it. Like, no matter what the friendship is between you and Al Haymon, you feel what I'm saying? No matter what the friendship is between you and Al, it's like, it's still a business in Al mind. No matter, you made me all this money, you revived my career after I got ran out the music industry, but I still got to tax you. And allegedly it was said that Floyd gave up, and that's all stuff I've said before here, the ownership of the PBC fighters. Let's rewind. If you remember a video I talked about maybe some years ago, Don King tried to sit down and basically work with Floyd to make a Corey Spinks fight. I think when Corey Spinks had the title or something like that, right? I think the welterweight title, and, you know, they tried to pry Floyd away from Al or whatever it went. And then Floyd, you know, was like, nah, I'm gonna fuck with Al. And Don King told him, he was like, you know, if you're gonna work with him, make sure you get ownership of the fighters. And he got into another tax problem allegedly, and, you know, he gave up ownership of the fighters to get out of the tax issue. Now, some people in boxing had tax issues, and you would be like, damn, you know, the managers, you know, the promoters should set them up for success. The system, even, you know, professional sports in America, the system is set up for you to fail. I think people don't realize that the system is set up for you to fail. It's not set up for you to succeed. It's set up for you to get money and be broke after you retire. That's just what it is. You see it time and time again. Look at the Milwaukee Bucks owner. He tried to show his players financial literacy. Adam Silver called him. You can look the story up and told him, what are you doing? You can't do that. They don't want you to create generational wealth. You know, they don't want you to win. And these promoters don't want you to win either. They not your friend. Let me keep telling y'all, brother, especially y'all brothers, Brad is not your friend. Small hat Brad is not your friend. No matter how nice they are, how they look, they're not your friend. They can't understand where you come from. They don't understand you. See, Becky and them can understand you because you dropped that dick on them. They like that swag. But Brad will never be able to understand where you come from. Malibu Most Wanted Brad, pencil pushing Brad, bottom basement Brad, white collar Brad, wealthy Brad. They can never understand it. And inside of their hatred is jealousy. Okay? They don't want to see you win. And Al Haymon don't see, when you get that high in the money, you don't see color. Your color is green. You don't care nothing. You got 1,000 suits, all this money. You allegedly fucked over people in the music industry. And now you fucked over people in the boxing industry, right? But back to Wilder, one of the reasons that Joshua and Wilder didn't happen, and apparently the 50 million was never real, I take it, is because it's simply because, you know, they said that if Wilder and Joshua happened and Wilder won, you know, Al Haymon would have to pay him extra money, a bonus. I don't know if his bonus was 10 million or whatever, but that's the reason it's being told to me why Al didn't want to make a unification bout with Wilder and Joshua. So was Wilder. Al would have had to pay him an additional bonus of $10 million. And maybe, and this is just my assumption right here, and maybe that's why he didn't unify Charles Martin and Deontay Wilder. Prior unification would have bumped up Deontay Wilder's pay too. And this is what I'm talking about. You paying guys what they don't deserve. You know, if you're not eating what you kill, if you're not turning a profit or turning a hard profit, how are you worth this? You worth this just to keep them from this competitor. And the thing about it is, Al Haymon made more money than any of the fighters, and he never threw a fucking punch. When you hear Eddie Hearn say, oh, the only sport that the fighters make more money than the promoter, nah. Talking about the UFC, that's bullshit. They bring home more money, bro. This is a common fact. Every industry in which the person damn near touch your money first. You know what I'm saying? How can the motherfucker pay you more than you pay them? Man, come on, man. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real, man. He can miss me with the malarkey. So that's why Joshua and Wilder didn't happen, because he didn't want to pay that undisputed bonus. That's it. He didn't want to pay the bonus. That's why he was trying to avoid Spence and Crawford. And they was trying to make Errol a new cash cow by fighting Canelo. And even if Canelo won, they probably would still be funneling fights through Canelo. So they was probably banking on Spence winning, which he wouldn't have won. We know that. Any version of him wouldn't have beat Canelo. So they was counting on all that money and saving the company. And now they got nobody to save. And this is what happened when you build a model on flim flam, on the box, on all flash in the pan. This is what they built their model on. Bullshit. Instead of the best fighting the best and the strong survive and the most popular survive, it didn't work. They didn't get behind their fighters in the way they were supposed to get behind their fighters and push the best and fight the best. I mean, anybody can see, what they was doing was a formula for disaster. Any businesses, you supply and demand, you have to give the people what they want. And PBC went out their way to do the opposite. That's how you know it was like a Ponzi scheme, or it was a money laundering scheme. That's all it was. I ain't got no fucking PhD in business, no master's in business, no nothing. But the common sense tells me, how are they making money? How are they flipping a profit? And they was finessing the game. And this is a big finesse. It's all Al Haymon probably allegedly was doing in the fucking music industry. Extracting with no intentions to invest long term. And in the sport, you have to invest long term. But hey, it is what it is, or it is what it ain't. Hit the link in the description. Follow me on X, Facebook, Kick, Twitch. Join the Patreon. Peace.